Okay, so in this video we are going to get started with 3ds Max. We are going to design this wooden train. So the first change that I will make will be regarding the unit setup. So I'll go up to customize, unit setup, and I will set the display unit scale to be in metric and in millimeters, so similar to a CAD software like CATIA or SolidWorks. Also for the system unit, I will choose one unit to be 1 millimeter. Okay, so we are going to model this using simple primitives. So let's imagine that this wooden train would be at a real scale. We are going to start with the base box. So we are going to set this length to maybe 200, the width to 80 millimeters, and the height maybe something like 25. Okay, so I will define the first box. Within the viewport, I will hold the left click and drag the box. After that, I will release the left click. And currently I have it set to snapped, so I will deactivate that. So I don't want to have those selected. And I will recreate the box, so I hit the delete key, and now I can smoothly define the height. After I define the box, I will go up to modify, and let's input some values. So length 200, width 80, and for the height I will choose 25. I will also want to center this to the scene, so I will go up to select and move, and I will right click on the spinners for the axis. Okay. Now for the following elements I will use AutoGrid to enable rapid deployment of the components in the desired location. So I will go up to create. After that, from standard primitives, I will pick a cylinder, and at the top we have the AutoGrid option. As soon as I will apply that, if I will move the cursor on top of various faces, I will see the local axis for that specific point. So let's define one of the wheels. After I define the shape, I will go up to modify, and let's set the radius to 25. And for the height of the wheel, I will choose something like 30. Okay, so for this length, the height will be 30. Now, I will maximize the viewport using Alt and W, and I will change the height segments. So for this wooden toy train, I will set it to 1, and I will increase the side number, so I'll go up to 60. Now if I want to position the wheel and align it to the body, I can go up to the left view, I can go out to orthographic, and let's say maybe I want it to be located somewhere over here. And I can input various values. For example, if I will go 12.5, this will be the middle, because we had a height of 25 for the original element. And maybe I want to position it at -60. Okay, so the coordinates will be located over here. So -60, and after that hit enter. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, so let's zero that out. -60. Okay, now it worked, and we can see the value added at the bottom. Good. I will go back to perspective view by pressing the P key. And now let's define the other elements. So we want to define the outer segment of the wheel. For that I'm going to use another primitive. This time will be a tube. I will start the shape from this face using AutoGrid. So first I will define the first radius, the second, and after that the height. I will go out to modify. So let's check the values for the initial one. It was 25, so radius 1 25, radius 2 28. The height will be 32, so I will choose 32 so that I will have this section over here. For the number of sides, I will go up to 60, and for the height segments again to 1. Now I will press F4 to hide the wireframe on top of the model, and now I want to center this tube with the cylinder. For that I can use the quick align button, or I can use the hotkeys. So I will select the tube. After that I will press Alt A, and now I will click on the cylinder. And I see by default having all the align position for X, Y and Z, the element will be centered like this. Okay, now let's draw the middle half of hemisphere over here. So for that I will choose again a sphere. I will pick auto grid. I will first position my sphere somewhere over here. After that I will go up to modify, and I will choose a radius of 4, and within the hemisphere I will go up to 0.5. So that means that only half of the sphere will be generated. If I will move that from its initial position, I can see the shape. Now I only have to align it with either the tube or the cylinder. So I will select the sphere, press Alt A, after that click on the cylinder. And now I don't want to have the shape aligned on X, so I will unlock that. And now if I will take a look at the model, I will see that it will be centered. Now if I want to draw the other wheels, I can multiply the initial one. So I will do a rectangle select. After that I will hold down Alt key, and I will do another cross selection. So by having this set to window, not on crossing, I can do that easily. After that I will hold down Shift key, and I have the possibility to drag the wheel over here. So I will want to define a new copy. After that I can center this. So if I want to do that, I will go to left view. Now since I have 3 elements selected, I should group those. So I'll go up to group, I will name it, for example, wheel, and after that for the group I have the possibility to position it on the axis. So maybe over here I want to position it something like 50. And for the initial one I can do the same. I can select that, I will group it also, I will call it wheel 1, and we initially set it to -60, but we can go maybe to something like -50 for this also. Okay, now I can check those. So again I will input this, -50, I will use the top numbers, not the numpad. After that hit enter. For some reason it doesn't want to input that. Let's delete everything in that section, -50, and now I will hit enter. Okay, now it worked. Usually if there are some leftovers for units, it doesn't work properly. Good. So now let's multiply the wheels and mirror them the other side. So I will select everything, unselect the base, and I will go up to mirror. And within the mirror I can say that I want to define a copy, and I will check the axis. I will see that it will be on X. So we had the initial length -80, and after that the tubes, so something like -110, so it will be positive. This will input us in this direction, -120. I will hit OK, and I can see that I have those elements aligned. Now let's draw the other elements. So for this box I can use the initial one, so I will select this box, hold down Shift, multiply that, so I will copy the shape. After that, for the length I will go again to 80, so maybe I want to make it even narrower, so something like 70. And for the height, I will set a height. If initially we had over here 25, maybe we have something like 70. And now I will align this to the main body, again using Alt-A, select the other shape, then I will choose that I want to position it on X also. With center to center it will be something like this, and after that I can just grab it and reposition it over here. And now if I want to specify some values, I can go on Z to 25, and for the Y-axis maybe we can go to something like 60, and now the shape will be aligned. We can also use various snapping tool for this, but I find it easier to do it like this with numeric inputs. Let's draw the other top element, so I will select this. Again, hold down Shift, multiply that. And for the top section I will want to go to 80 by 80 and with a height of maybe something like 20. Or maybe even 25, because these two have a similar height within the reference. And for the Z-axis I will go to, let's say 100 will be over here, so it will be something like 95 in our case, so it will be perfectly positioned on top. We can maybe increase the scale a bit, so 85 by 85. Okay, so let's go further with the other elements. I will define the main cylinder by going up to Create Cylinder. With AutoGrid activated, I will define the shape. I can see that the cylinder has a similar length to the one that we already defined. So maybe for the radius we'll go something like 30, height 120, sides I will let it be 60. And now I can position and align this according to the box. If I will check the reference, I have a larger gap at the top, so maybe we can just reposition this on the Z-axis, so something like this. And now I will just center it, center to center, and after that I will move it on the Y-axis and position it a little bit lower, so something similar to this. Now let's define the other two cylinders. We can also extrude this section, but I find it easier to multiply this and have it scaled, so maybe the second radius will be something like 20, height will be 5. After that I will position the shape over here. I can center it better using numeric values, but as a reference for this model it's more than enough to do it like this. And also we're gonna have another smaller cylinder over here, radius of 5, and maybe a lesser height, something like 3. They are already aligned because we copy from the initial one. Okay, and now we have these two elements to define. So to do that, I could select this and rotate it, or I can define a new cylinder starting from this section, so maybe something similar to this. After that I will center it, so center it, quick align with the cylinder, have it positioned in the desired location, and now maybe I can make the radius smaller, something like 6, height something like 30. I will position this cylinder over here, and after that have it clone using shift and translate, and the other radius will be 8, and maybe the height will be something like 50. So you're gonna see that they are pretty much at the same level. We can also adjust those if we want to. Okay, so this will be the wooden train. Now let's rapidly generate the wagons. So to do that, we can quickly select and multiply, but before it's wiser that we do the texturing now. And after that, we're gonna have a 3D model that will be already textured. So let's go and check for some materials. So for this section I will want, I can use also a color, but for the other section I will wanna use a wooden texture. Okay, so let's go to Google. I will search for wooden texture. I can also search for wooden textures that are seamless. After that I will go to images, tools, size, large. Let's see, this is a seamless wooden texture. It has a watermark. We can use that as a case study, but you can also search for other textures that don't have a watermark. So something like this, my free texture, right click on that, save image as, and have it positioned on, I will put it on the desktop. So let's see, maybe wooden train textures, press that. So this will be one of the textures, and maybe for the other section I will use something like this. So fine wood seamless texture, right click, save as. Again, it will be a JPEG file, so that will be good. I will call this wood 1. Okay, so within 3ds Max we can assign those materials. I will press on M. This will open the materialator. This will be the slate materialator, and I will choose the mode to be compact material. And within the compact material I already have it set to scanline renderer, so you can do that if you're gonna press F10, and at the bottom you're gonna see this assign renderer. So for production and both for the active shade I have changed it from Arnold to scanline. So I will pick an empty material slot. After that I will go on the diffuse map. I will click on that square. After that I will input a bitmap. I will go up to my desktop, and over here we're gonna see the wooden train textures. So first we're gonna make some elements with this wood. So the lighter ones, we could also use a color for that. I will go with double wood textures. So I can select multiple elements. So like this is a group, so I will ungroup that. The same over here. I will ungroup all my wheels so that I can texture only the elements that are intended to have this color. You can select them all. Okay, so the top one won't be selected. I will hold down Alt, unselect that. After that, choose the material and set assign material to selection. And I can also have them displayed within the viewport. Okay, so I see that over here I still have that group. I have ungrouped it now. And let's choose the other ones. So this will also have the same material. I will define the second wooden material, again using a bitmap. So for these components I will want to assign the other material. Okay, and I want to have them showed in the viewport. Now I could modify some of the UV mapping. So maybe for this cylinder. Also I still have these smaller segments, the hemispheres. I will make those a simple material, so I will choose this one, have it applied, and maybe change a bit the grayness for this. And I will add a bit of specular so that I will have some highlights on that. So let's take a look at adjusting textures in 3ds Max. Over here I see that the bitmap will be stitched in this direction. So with that element selected, I will go to modify, go to UVW map, and by default it should snap to a planar UV mapping. So in this case that will fix the texture. Again, for the other wheels I will rotate on the other side, again UV map, and for the other one UV map. Okay, so for the box I see the texture will be over here. We can increase the size on this one. So if we're gonna go to UV mapping, I will set it to box. So let's make the grains be similar size. So for the height I will increase those, something like this. Okay, so let's also adjust the texture for this one. Similar UV mapping on a box, and I will increase this height, maybe something like this. And I only have this cylinder texture to fix also in this location. So I'll go to UV mapping. I will set it to be a cylinder, and I want to have that cylinder capped. And I can adjust some of the sizes over here. So maybe something like this. And I see that the cylinder doesn't have a seam at the top. So this will be for the height. This will be the width, and this will be the length. And we can do the same for the others. So UV map. You need to type them fast so that they will search like this. Okay, have it capped. Maybe for the height, have it a larger scale, and also the last one, UV map, cylinder capped, and a little bit of height. Okay, so now let's define a wooden floor that we are going to position this train. So to do that I will go up to plane. I will randomly define a plane like this. After that go to modify, and let's input a length of 10 meters, that will be 10,000 millimeters, and a width of 8,000 millimeters, so 8 meters. For the length and width segments, I will set it to 1, because this will be just a wooden floor. We won't gonna model any details to that, so we don't need additional geometry underneath. Now, with that plane selected, I will go to select and move, and I will zero out the position. Now let's grab a texture. For this I will go to texture haven, and from texture haven I will browse a texture. I will go to wooden, indoors, and I will pick this wooden plank dirt. I will download the 4K resolution, so it will also include the Blender 2.8 over here, but we can zip that, or we can download it directly like this. So let's say we want the diffuse. I will download the JPEG file for this one. Okay, so this will be the file. Save image as. You can do it like this if you don't want to download the whole archive, or you can go up over here and pick various maps. For this case we are going to use only the diffuse map. So I will press the M key, select a new material, I will go to diffuse, bitmap, have that texture selected and have it applied to the model. So applied. Now I'm gonna adjust also the texture of the wooden floor. So maybe we want to tile that 5 by 5. Go to modify, UV map. So if you will go type UV fast, it should go in that section. And I'm gonna tile it 5 by 5 for the UMV values. Okay, now let's organize the scene a bit. So I will press H, so this will allow me to select from scene. And currently we have this element named box 001. So I will rename that train. And now let's select and link those so that all the elements will follow the train on the wooden floor. To do that, we can do a selection. So, but if you're gonna do it like this, it's really important that we won't have the plane selected. So by default, I also have the large wooden floor selected. So I can unselect that. But we can freeze it to make it easier to work around the train without having, let's say, maybe selecting by mistake the wooden floor. So to do that, we can freeze it. We can go and right click on that, go up to object properties, and I will uncheck the show frozen in gray so that if I'm gonna froze this element, it will still be displayed with the texture. So if I won't do that, let's take a look. I'm gonna go to freeze selection, so my model will look like this. So I will unfreeze all, have it again selected, object properties, go up to show frozen in gray, and now I can freeze the selection. And now if I'm gonna select various elements within the scene, I won't be able to select the wooden floor. So I will select all these elements, I will unselect the base, and I will select them using the select and link button. So I will hold down the left click and I will point them all to this element. So this will be the train. I will now multiply it to define some wagons. So we see that our reference has 3 wagons. So let's take a look at this step also. I will select again all my elements. I will unselect the top one, so this cylinder, also those ones. If you want to make sure that your selection is correct, currently we have 13 objects. You can right click and go to isolate selection, and this will only highlight you the selected models. So for example, over here we have the middle part and the wheels. After that we can end the isolate. Will be again we're gonna see all the scene. Now I will hold down the shift key and I will drag this wagon over here, and I will want to define it as a copy. So this will be wagon 1. Also the reference had another part, so we can rapidly do that by copying this element over here, have it scaled a bit, maybe also on the z-axis, and have it positioned over here. Okay, so now if you want to center that, you can go up to 25, so it will be aligned properly. Good. So now let's do a setup for the animation. So by default 3ds Max has only 100 frames over here, but we can go to time configuration, go up to the second time display options, and I will go to the end time of 15 seconds and 0 frames. So the last ones are frames. When they are gonna reach this value, so we have a FPS of 30, they will transform within seconds, and over here we have seconds, and in front we're gonna have minutes. So this is how you rescale the time configuration. Okay, let's take a look now at defining a spline. So we want to make the train follow a spline, something similar to let me check Sketchfab. So I will go to Sketchfab. I will search for a wooden train, and if I will check it to be animated, wood train, so this will be train set wood toys. It's a 3D model. Let's see the user. Ivanix88 created the model, and we can check this model. You can see that there are multiple trains, and there's an animation in the middle that spins, and after that the other train will start. So this animation has almost 42 seconds, and we will try to define something like this, but at a smaller scale. Okay, so let's define a path for our train. We're gonna do that by going up to shapes, go to line, after that smooth, and again smooth. This will allow me to drag it faster. So if I will keep it like corner and bezier, the initial type will be the initial point, so this will be corner, and after that there will be drag type. So now it's set to bezier. That means that I can left click, and if I will gonna hold down the left click, I can define the curvature of that spline. So if I won't do that and I won't hold the left click for each step, it will be like this. So it will have those corners. We can do some corrections. We can select them and then have them set to smooth, and we can work around this. But it's way faster if you're gonna set by default the line initial type and also drag type to smooth. So let's define the path. So I want my train to ride along a spline similar to this one. Now I want to end the loop in this position, so I will click the initial point. I will select yes for close spline, and this will be our spline. So we have the train already linked, so all the components will follow the main element. Okay, the same goes for the wagon, but we also need to attach this. So select and link the top part, have it follow on the main body. So to position an element to the spline, we're gonna go up to animation, constraint, path constraint, and after that I'm gonna choose that spline. I will see that the train will snap in location, if I will gonna press the play animation, I will see my train slowly moving on that section. But I can go and make it follow, so now it will follow the spline, but I still need to adjust the axis, so I will go over here down to axis, and for this model will be the second axis. Also I see that it's going backwards, so I need to flip it, so I will just flip that like this. Okay, I will set the speed, the playback speed to be 1x. That means that my train will move a lot faster now. So I can see that the train is slowly moving on this. I will see that my FPS is quite low now, since I'm also recording with OBS, but it's still decent. You can check that by pressing the 7 key from the top, and you will see FPS in real time over here. Okay, so now I will stop the animation, and we want to do the same with the wagon. So I'll go back to my initial frame. I know that this element is called train, so if I will press H, select from scene, I will see that currently I have a train, a wagon, and all the other primitives are childs for the main element. So currently this box is a train, and the other one is wagon 1. I will do the same for the wagon, so have it selected, animation, constraint. I will go to path constraint and choose this one. I will have it again follow, and I will choose the same axis. And now I see that the two models are perfectly overlapped, since they have the same size, and also they follow the same spline, within the 15 seconds full time from start to finish. So now we're just gonna have to offset the front part of the train. So I will press H, select from scene, I will select the train, have it selected. Now I will see that on the right I have the train selected, and on the path along parameter we see over here % along path. Maybe you want to have the train something like 1% of the path offsetted already. We can even go with a higher value, maybe something like 1.6. And for this, if I'm gonna scrub the animation, I will see that my train will start. I can also add additional linking elements between the trains if I want to add some details. Within the reference model, those elements are defined like this. So we see we have this section, and after that we can use again half a hemisphere. If you're gonna go down to model inspector, we're gonna go up to geometry and see the wireframe. We're gonna see that this will be the structure for the geometry for this model. Okay, so let's multiply a wagon, maybe have something like 5 wagons, and I will select that, unselect the spline, and I will hold down shift while going on the select and move button, and I can drag my wagon somewhere like here. Okay, have that created one time, again another one. So currently we're gonna have 4 wagons and one more. Keep in mind that you need to maybe adjust the camera several times so that you can easily deploy this. You can increase the number of copies, but they won't follow the same offset between them. So for example, if I will add something like 7, I will see that those 7 will be something like this because of the curvature of the spline. So it's easier to do them like this, one by one, copy. And now if I'm gonna press the play button animation, I'm gonna see that my train will start rolling on the main on the spline and on the floor. Okay, so we have those 5 wagons. Let's start and maybe make the train go a bit higher. So first we have this clipping problem. I will need to adjust the height of this spline, so you can do that by going up to move. If you force, maybe let's say for example you don't see the move options on top, is because it will be centered over here. You can adjust it using the values at the bottom easily, so I can just select that, go over here on z-axis, and maybe go to something like 50. In our case, this should be more than fine. You can also scrub it and see exactly where it's gonna clip. So maybe also 12, but no, because at 13 we're gonna see we have a little bit of clipping, so 15 will be good. Okay, now I wanna define a ramp for this train, so the train will move along the spline, and somewhere over here I wanna create a ramp. To do that, I will define a box, so I'll go over here, go to box, have the box shape like this. Maybe we can also adjust the color. We can also use some materials similar to the ones on the train. And after that I will position the initial primitive for the ramp, so maybe something like this. We can now scale it quite fast, but keep in mind that if you're gonna go to modify and adjust it over here, this will adjust accordingly. So maybe a length of 1 meter will be something exactly like this. And if you're gonna scale that, this won't be anymore adjusted in real time. So if I will select that, go up to select any uniform scale, and I will scale it, scale like this, I see that the values won't be adjusted. Also keep in mind that the scaling reference over here, so the axes are not aligned. So if I will scale like this will be proportional, but I should go to the local axis. So now my orientation will be centered. Okay, so maybe we're gonna lower this box, have it maybe even smaller. And now I want to define a ramp using this box, so I want my terrain to have a platform to climb. I will go to the modify list. I need to adjust the box to be an edit poly so that I can choose various edges or other elements. So I will go to edit poly. And now I can rapidly make a ramp by going to edge. So either by clicking over here or by pressing the hotkey. Will be 2. So 1 will be vertex, 2 will be edge. And after that I will select that edge. I will go to move. And again I have my axes are not aligned, so they are currently the reference is set to view. And I will go to parent for this case. So the parent will be like this, and I can define that ramp. I will do the same in the other side. So this edge, I will make it maybe something like this. Now I will have my train in position, so somewhere over here. I see that the ramp is not wide enough, so I can easily scale that by going to the select uniform scale button. After that I see that I will go to the parent axis. So the parent axis won't be aligned in this case, so I will go to local and I will scale them on X axis. Now I can see that my terrain will go on that ramp. I can maybe increase the height of the ramp and maybe the size of the ramp. And now I need to adjust the spline by defining the location for the vertices. So to do that, I will click the spline, go to line, go to modify. I can see that it's called line 001. I will go to vertex. And I can select those vertices, go down to the move selection and have them moved. So if I will press F3 to see the wireframe, I see that I have no additional vertex over here. So I can do that either by going on right click and after that refine, and I can click on various sections, or I can go over here in the menu, click on refine. When the button will be blue, I can position those points. After that I will go on the top view. So let's take a look at that. I will undo the wireframe, and first from the top view I will reposition those. Again I will hit F3 for wireframe visualization, and I want to have them somewhere centered on the ramp so that the train will be centered. I will only move this in the 2 axes over here, so I won't go up on Z axis for now. I will do that as soon as the train will start to climb the ramp. And maybe we're gonna adjust also the number of points. So let's take a look at the animation. We're gonna see over here that the train is gonna go close to the ramp, and now I can select that point and maybe have it position a bit higher on the Z axis. And the same I will do for the following. I will go to the left view, and from the left view I will try to have those points positioned on top. Over here I see that I no longer have enough reference point, so I will refine that with additional vertices. And now I have positioned that over here. Okay, if I will hit again F3, and if I'm gonna scrap the animation, I will see that my train will climb the ramp. I still have additional clipping to the wheels, so this requires additional fine-tuning by selecting the individual vertices and have them reposition. So maybe again for this I will have that a little bit higher. Okay, I see that I have some clipping over here, and you can reposition around it. So I will zoom out, press Z, so I will see this. The camera was flipped from the bottom, so by using the default shading and standard you won't be able to see it because the light will start to be added to the scene. So you can go up to various visualizations options over here to adjust that. Okay, you can also rescale the ramp maybe, so you can adjust it in two ways. Over here still we're gonna have a little bit of clipping, and we are gonna change that by selecting those points. Okay, so not that point, I want the point of the spline, so the green one. Modify, have it selected, and now go maybe a little bit on the Z-axis. Okay, so this was the ramp. We can also animate a ramp. So for example, I will select this ramp, have it copy over here, have it position, let's say something like this, and I want to make it curve as soon as the train will go near the second ramp. So I will add an animation to that, and I will bend it. But before we can bend this shape, we're gonna need to quadify the mesh, because currently we have a limited number of vertices. And if I will go to modify list, go up to bend, I will select the axis. In this case will be the y-axis, and I will see if I try to reshape up the ramp, it will look something like this. So I want it to be more smooth. So we can add the Quadify mesh underneath the bend, so it's really important the order of the modify features. So I'll have the edit poly selected, go up to modify, press Q from Quadify mesh, and we see the output will be something like this. So maybe the bend value -80 is a bit large, -60. You can even go to -50, so something like this. Now we're just gonna reshape the spline so that the train will go on top, but I will want this bend to happen, let's say, as an animation. So I will go somewhere over here, so the bend will be set to 0, and as soon as the train will go close, or something like this, starting from second 6 frame 10, I will set auto key over here, click on set keys to define the initial state for the bend to change, so click on that. After that I will go several frames, something like over here, so 5 frames, and I will make the angle to go up to -40. Okay, so something like this, even maybe -50. And now I can click on auto key to uncheck that, and if I'm gonna check the animation, I will see that my initial shape will look like this. And if I'm gonna play the animation, I see that the bend starts from 0, and I will need to adjust that. So to do that, I will just select the element, and I will see that this will be the bend, and I will reposition it somewhere along maybe 6 and 10. And now I will see that reshape happening way faster as soon as the train will hit the ramp. And you can adjust that, maybe you want a bit something like this. Let's reshape this spline also. So I'll go to modify, I will hit F3, and I will need additional refining elements. So I will position additional vertices, have them selected, and have them aligned. So on this axis, again, I will first only go on the bottom plane, and after that I will go on the Z-axis with these ones. Okay, so something like this. After that, close that, and let's have those points elevated. Again, I have another point over here that I want to adjust only on the z-axis. So let's take a look at that point. I can press F3 to see it better. Okay, so maybe now it's a bit on top of the ramp. You can also specify a specific value, so maybe minus 130. You could also measure the ramp. Maybe 130 will be in the middle of the ramp, but it's pretty close to the top section, so 140. Again 140, and over here again I can add additional vortices by refining this and have them positioned, so maybe something like that. Again for the other one on the z-axis, and also from the top view I can choose their position, so maybe the train should be somewhere around this direction. So this requires additional fine-tuning if you want to define a good-looking animation. Okay, so something like this. And now if I'm gonna scrap the animation, I will see my train. I still have a lot of clipping on various wheels, so you can also realign those closer. We also have the animation for the train, for the bend section. So one more aspect that I want to talk about in this video, I'm going to define also a tube. Let's say maybe you want our train to walk within a tube. You can also bend this, the same thing we did with the box. I'm just going to rotate that, go to snap, have it rotate to -90. After that, again, I will rotate it something like this, and maybe I just wanna have this section covered by a tube. So if I'm gonna scrap the animation, go over here, I will see that my train will pass through this section. Instead, there are some collisions, and we can adjust those by rotating the tube. Okay, and for the last section, let's add some additional elements. Maybe we want our train to carry some objects. You can also import other 3D models. I will use the predefined 3D shapes within 3ds Max, so I will define a teapot. I will have it positioned with AutoGrid over here. So I'll make the pot something like this, so it will be quite large, because I want to talk about scaling also within this video. So I have the teapot over there positioned. I will select it. You can select it to either the main element of the wagon or maybe a wheel, but keep in mind that if you're going to link it to a wheel and you're going to add a rotation to the wheel to make the animation more realistic, also the teapot will bend. So it's a good practice that you're gonna link it to the main element that is assigned to the shape, to the spline. Okay, and if you're gonna play the animation, you're gonna see the train carrying the teapot on top of those ramp. We see the moving, the deforming ramp. Okay, so maybe somewhere over here I'm gonna make the pot way bigger, so something like this, so it won't fit within this tube. So over here we're gonna talk about other aspects that we can animate in 3ds Max. So we mostly talk about translation and rotation, but we can also animate scaling. So for example, as soon as my train will be close to this section, I can have the teapot scaled. So to do that, I'm gonna set auto key. I can set keys for everything, not only for the scale. You can also filter those if you want to. And I will go up to maybe 6 more frames, and I will have it scale to something like this. I will set that, and if we're going to check the animation, we have the teapot over here large. It will shrink, it will pass through the section, and somewhere over here I will have it scaled back up. You can also check the exact value for the scaling, so similar to the position on each coordinate. You also have the scaling as a %, so by default it will be set to 100. So maybe I will set it to auto key over here, and up to 3 more frames I will set the scale to maybe 200, so make it twice as large. But this is quite large. I will only set it to 150. Okay, so this won't clip that section. I will undo the auto key. Now if you're gonna scrub in the animation, we're gonna see that the train is following the line. We also have this reshaping the initial phase. After that it will transform in front of the train, and we see that the teapot will also rescale. So I encourage you to finish this scene. You can add various simple primitives to make the scene more complex. Okay. So this is how you can define something similar to this one. This is a more complex, let's say, junction over here that can rotate on various positions. So also the track is defined over here as a puzzle, as a jigsaw element. But other than that, there are simple animations that are looped like this. Okay, so I hope you find this video useful. If so, leave me a comment in the section below, and I will create more 3ds Max and virtual reality videos for this channel.